Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is regarding Dillon rounds. Recently, I was given access to a bunch of files and folders out there regarding the Dillon rounds case, all the investigative, well, not all of the investigative documents, but some, and some video, etc. So I'm just trying to work my way through it, and in this video we'll go over sort of a synopsis of what went on in the case based off of a search warrant that was given on James Brenner. He was a squatter on the same property that the grain truck was being stored by Dillon rounds, but we'll read that here in a minute. So here is a summary of the case from back in May of 2022. So on May 30th, 2022, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office received a missing person report for Dillon Rounds, a 19-year-old from Lucin, Utah, a remote, sparsely populated area in West Box Elder County. On May 28, 2022, Dillon called his grandmother from his phone and informed her that he was moving his grain truck to a shelter to protect it from incoming bad weather. The shelter was about 5 miles from his trailer. He mentioned that after parking the truck, he would walk back to his trailer. Dillon's mother, Candace Cooley, reported that she had regular contact with her son, but after May 28, 2022, no one had been able to reach Dillon. His phone was going straight to voicemail. So his phone likely was going to voicemail because it was either turned off or cannot connect to any cell tower. After Dillon failed to contact anyone, Candace reached out to 2 friends in the area to check on him. One of the individuals was James Brenner, who was living on the property where Dillon kept his grain truck, although Brenner had no ownership of the land. Brenner was squatting on the property where Dillon parked his truck. Brenner and the other friend checked Dillon's trailer and confirmed his truck was there, but there was no sign of Dillon. Candace noted that Dillon wouldn't have left for the weekend without telling anyone, and her attempts to call him continued to go directly to voicemail. And this is where law enforcement starts believing something suspicious happened. Box Elder County Sheriff's deputies conducted extensive searches in the area around Dillon's trailer and the roads he would have used to walk back from his truck. After several days of searching and investigating the circumstances, detectives concluded that Dillon's disappearance was not accidental. Based on the evidence gathered, authorities believe someone had caused Dillon harm and might have concealed his body in a remote location. Investigators pointed to the fact that his phone had been unreachable since May 28, 2022, and Dillon had not been found despite widespread search efforts. And this next portion is regarding Dillon's boots. Investigators found a pair of boots confirmed to belong to Dillon. The boots were located approximately a few hundred yards from where Dillon's grain truck was parked, in an area without any roads or trails. This location was not commonly traveled on foot. Preliminary forensic testing indicated the presence of blood on the boots. This discovery heightened suspicions that Dillon had been a victim of foul play. The exact origin and identity of the blood on the boots are not detailed in this document, but the presence of blood in an isolated area away from the main road added urgency to the investigation. James Brenner, who had been living on the property where Dillon's truck was parked, became a key person of interest early in the investigation. He initially told law enforcement and others that he believed someone had taken Dillon, citing the fact that the gate to the property had been left open, a behavior Brenner claimed Dillon never exhibited. Brenner told authorities that he saw tire tracks near the gate, which led them to believe someone had driven up, abducted Dillon, and left. However, when Detective Moore spoke with Brenner, it became clear that his statements were speculation and he had no direct knowledge of what had happened to Dylan. Well, turns out that that wasn't necessarily true. Further investigation revealed that Dylan had contacted Brenner by phone on the morning of May 28, 2022, the same day Dylan went missing. This was the last known communication from Dylan's phone. So you wonder what time that was. Was that sort of an alibi phone call? Brenner claimed that he left his property around 1:30 p.m. that day to visit a friend and returned at around 9 p.m. Upon returning, he noted that the gate was damaged, his horse was loose, and Dylan's grain truck was parked under a shelter on the property. And this is some of the incriminating behavior of Brenner. During an interview with law enforcement, Brenner admitted that his DNA might be found on Dylan's boots. When asked why, Brenner explained that he often touches items on the property. He also mentioned that while searching for his loose horse, he picked up one of Dylan's boots and tossed it aside. This provided an explanation for why his DNA could be on the boots, but it raised further suspicion. Yeah, so now he's even claiming he touched one of Dylan's boots that had Dylan's blood on the boots. So Dylan's already dead at this point, and he's grabbing his boots and he tosses them aside. But why would he toss boots hundreds of yards away by a mound nowhere near the grain truck? And then Dylan's hat. Mother's observation. Candace Cooley, Dylan's mother, reported to FBI agent Jeff Ross that she saw James Brenner wearing a rare, special edition John Deere hat that belonged to Dylan. This hat was described as a special purchase Dylan had made and worn frequently. Investigators confirmed that the hat belonged to Dylan by cross-referencing a photo of Dylan wearing the same hat. Deputies verified that Brenner had been wearing the hat after Dylan's disappearance, further implicating him. I mean, what an idiot, by the way. I mean, you kill somebody. Did you kill him for the hat? Is that why you killed him, so you could have the John Deere hat that you wanted so badly? I mean, absolutely ridiculous for a criminal to do that. You're basically saying, hey, everybody, look at me. I have Dylan's hat. I'm obviously it's just, to me, it's almost unbelievably idiotic at that point. Based on Brenner's suspicious behavior and his potential involvement in Dylan's disappearance, Detective Moore requested a search warrant to access Brenner's electronic communication devices, including his cell phone. The goal was to retrieve data that could provide critical information about Dylan's last known whereabouts, Brenner's activities, and any communications related to the incident. The warrant specifically sought to access call logs, text messages, emails, media files, GPS data, internet browsing history, cloud storage. The warrant requested that the data be retrieved by any means necessary, allowing investigators full access to Brenner's devices. Given the high-profile nature of the case and the risk of misinformation spreading, Detective Moore requested that the search warrant application, affidavit, and related documents be sealed until December 15, 2022. This was done to protect the integrity of the investigation. The search warrant was executed and James Brenner's cell phone and other electronic devices were seized by law enforcement. Investigators proceeded to analyze the devices for evidence. After retrieving relevant data, the devices were returned to Brenner. However, the information obtained from the devices was kept for further analysis. The document explicitly lists homicide as a potential criminal offense under the investigation. The details uncovered so far suggest that Dylan's disappearance may have involved foul play with Brenner as the primary suspect. The blood on the boots, Brenner's inconsistent statements, and his possession of Dylan's hat are crucial pieces of evidence. As per the Utah Electronic Information or Data Privacy Act, Brenner was officially notified that a search warrant had been executed to seize and search his property for digital evidence related to a homicide investigation. Okay, now what was explained in that summary was that Dylan Rounds lived right here in this area. We can't see the where his camper was because his satellite image, his vehicle was not there at any time during the satellite imagery. We have October 2023, and the one before that is March 2020, and he was there in between that time. And things have been moved since then. All right, so we have all kinds of different stuff coming out in these documents, but that morning he called his grandmother, and then he drove likely down this route right here. And I think if we, let's see what the length of this is. This is 6.71 miles. It'd be probably like 5 if you walked across somehow. I think if we took a line and drew it from right there basically to here, that comes out to 5.29 miles. So he was going to walk home after putting his truck, his grain truck. He didn't want it to spoil the grain with the rain, so he backed it into this building here. And then James Brenner lived in one of the campers that was on the property. You know, you can see campers here at various times. This is May 11th, 2019, that imagery. And then the next imagery here is October of 2023. So likely Brenner lived in one of these campers here on the property, and he was squatting there. All right, and then what they were saying was that, you know, he backed into here. That's where they found his grain truck. And then those boots, however, were found behind this mound. There's a mound of dirt right here, and it was found behind there. Why would Brenner, when he says, "Oh, I just tossed them aside," how would they get that far away? You're not going to walk 200 yards and then toss boots if you're just, you know, just sort of getting them out of your way. That's total bullcrap right there. All right. So in these documents, it also explains where Dylan was eventually found, and there's tons and tons of photographs of the area, and I think I've been able to identify the location. And so one of the images inside the documents was this, and this, there's one similar to it. This one's just a wider shot where it has the location of where Dylan was found. And when you look at that, it's kind of hard to distinguish, but I was talking to Candace, and she said he was found between the grain truck and the loosened pond, right? So the pond is right over here, that loosened pond, and that's where his cell phone was found, and this is where the grain truck was right there. Those are the boots. And it's kind of interesting because the boots are here, his phone's there, and his body's found in between. And amazingly, his body was found a mile away. Now, some people suggest the possibility that his body was put there later, but James Brenner had been being watched for almost since the beginning, so he would have a hard time going and collecting a body and then putting it out there again. I think he probably drove out there and buried him in maybe a shallow grave or something like that at some point. So in the documents, it does mention over here by Loosen Pond, somebody mentioned right in the same location, I used their GPS coordinates in the documents, that there was a hole dug there that was 4 feet by 2 feet and then a foot deep. And it was in the documents. I read it in there a couple times. So was he there originally and then moved? I don't know. You know, we just speculate on this kind of stuff. It's possible, but it's also possible that he was put here at the very beginning. And what's crazy is just only a mile away. You would think that they would have searched in that exact area at some point. I mean, only being a mile away, you would think so, right? So here is the overlay of that image that I just saw. Now, because she said the grain truck was there and the pond's there, looking at this image, you see the curvature of the road right here. And then I tried to line it up with some of the geographical information that these lines might represent. That looks like maybe a creek or something, you know, maybe a waterway. And if you look, it matches perfectly with right here. So watch, I'll turn it back on and off. You can just see that it matches absolutely perfectly, right? See that? Everything. And so we'll put it back on and then off. And then I put a pin right in the middle of this blue dot there, okay? Then I went down to the area where the pin is, and I tried to look at it based on some of the photographic information that is out there. Like this image right here is a good one. As you can see, they have cameras set up. These little black dots like that are where bones were found. And when you look at that, you can see in the background the mountain range. See that? And see how the mountain comes in the foreground there, and then a deep mountain range. And I believe it's right like that. See, if you can look right here, here's the one in the foreground and then in the background. We could probably even put that up on the screen, and you can see if we, let's see, move it. I think you almost have to, it's hard to get the exact shot, but if I went like this, watch. About like that, there you go. So this part of the mountain's right there, and then it goes like that and up and around, and this is much wider shot, however. Like if I turned the camera and looked, it's probably more about that angle. There you go. I think that's probably a better angle. So let's put that back up on there. There you go. So it's like that. Make it a little bit smaller. There you go. See that? Perfect. And so now you know that you're looking, and see how it's a little bit sparse right there in terms of the brush. It's a little bit more bare, and that's exactly what you have right here. Then I was able to, by using the knowledge of knowing that that was the area, they have some other imagery out there. And here is a shot that's kind of at like a 45-degree angle. So it's kind of difficult to use. And if it was looking straight down, it'd be really easy to line everything up. But if you look, you can see how close it is. See, like these three bushes, 1, 2, 3, right in this area. And you turn them off, they're right there, and this is there. Every single element is in the scene that I can see in terms of bushes. It's just at a different angle, but they're all there. For example, this right here is actually right up there, and he's walking right in between those two bushes. This is the bigger clump that you can see right there where there's some bones. And so this is the spot right in that location, and it's only a mile away from the grain truck. So you just have to ask yourself, how in the hell didn't anybody find him way back then? There is some helicopter footage that is out there that's pretty interesting. I was trying to map where the helicopter was flying around, and I have them at one time it's over here, and then a couple times it's flying around this area, and then right there one time. And I'm trying to find if it ever gets over into that area, because maybe at that point he was buried underground and they just couldn't see him, on the camera. Except it seemed like the camera was really good at detecting disturbed dirt. Pretty interesting. But we'll go over that again tonight. Maybe go back over this again and some of the documents. We'll go over that search warrant document a little bit later this evening in full detail, not the summarized version, and see what else we can find in there. So yeah, this has been a really crazy, complicated case in terms of law enforcement and all the different rumors and stories that were being told early on. Pretty ridiculous stuff, really. But it turns out that James Brenner is the killer. He is the guy, everybody. It's not confusing. It's not, it's crazy how even in a case like this, now there's people that are like, we don't think he did. Ooh. Because it's more interesting for them. If not, it's all buttoned up and pretty much over at this point, right? You just have to, figure out exactly what happened using the documents, and law enforcement knows exactly what happened. And we're just trying to put it together here, all right? So thank you all very much for watching. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you showing up. And if you, again, hit that like button, that would be awesome. So again, thanks for watching. And as I always say, until next time, Be safe out there.